Hey there everyone, this is Samuel Johnson and welcome back to the Spider-Verse Retrospectives, and today we're going to be continuing our discussion on the End of the Spider-Verse storyline as we take a look at Spider-Man Volume 4, Number 6. So, last time on End of the Spider-Verse! So, put simply, everything was kind of going to hell. Miles and Hunter Spider wound up getting caught by Shathra, resulting in Hunter Spider running for the hills, while Miles was captured since Shathra wanted to know why he was not under her control, despite being a wasp totem now. Peter Parker wound up getting erased from reality, so so the Spider Army wound up losing their chosen one. The special Spider artifact that would have restored severed Spider totems was destroyed in an ensuing battle, and put simply, everything's just kind of going to hell, with literally the only saving grace of anything being that in place of Peter Parker, Madam Web decided to recruit a new Spidey, specifically the Spider-Man of Earth 616 Beta, Peter Palmer, the amazing Spider-Man, with no hyphen in the name. So yeah, things aren't exactly looking well. However, we soon learn that while Spider-Man may have been erased from Earth 616, Peter Parker was not, as when he was stabbed with a totem dagger, his history was essentially rewritten so that Peter Parker never got bitten by the spider. Cindy Moon still got bit, so she still went on to become Silk, but in this new reality, Peter Parker was able to intervene when the mugger attacked his home, and thus, while Peter got shot himself and now has to walk with a limp, his Uncle Ben is still alive. And this sacrifice, and basically, with what Peter did, he wound up earning the respect of Flash Thompson and his friends, essentially becoming friends with all of them. He helped Flash Thompson improve his grades by tutoring him, and feeling an admiration for Silk, Peter wound up becoming her tech guy, as in this new timeline, Silk became the premier spider hero because, well, whether it be out of cosmic awareness or because of a good conscience, she wound up seeing all these weird things that Spider-Man would have dealt with and decided, no, I gotta deal with this shit, despite the fact that she was given the whole run and hide warning by Ezekiel, just like in the main timeline. As a result, Silk is the resident Spidey of this new timeline. She took care of all the threats. Peter helped her out, and he went on to have a good life. Even in the present day, now having a job at Oscorp as a scientist, that's essentially one of Osborn's golden boys, to the point where he's pretty much an employee of the month. However, he soon got pulled back into the fray of End of the Spider-Verse, as while he and his crew were messing with a transporter that had been stolen earlier in the storyline, it wound up activating, and from it, he received a piece of the Web of Life and Destiny that Spider-Norman had sent out in a last bid to stop Shathra. And on top of that, not only did he get a piece of that, not only did he get the web piece itself, but he also got a little passenger, as Spider-Man managed to save himself, as the last time we saw him and Spider-Norman, they were kind of getting killed / blown up by Shathra's forces in an attempt to convert Spider-Norman before he killed himself to keep him knowing what happened. And as a result, there are still some of Spider-Man's spiders in there telling Peter that they need help, which is where today's issue begins, as Shathra is now kind of reveling in her victory, as most of the multiverse has now been essentially pulled under her thrall. The Web of Life and Destiny is at her command, and most of the spider totems in the multiverse have either been erased, killed, or have been converted to her service. Put simply, Shathra was winning, and ultimately there are only a handful of worlds left that are not a part of her great nest. And while Annie Mae Parker is kind of losing strength and is not able to reweave the web into the nest as quickly as she could, Shathra quickly pushes her aside and says, "Go, hold on, I'll do this," as she begins quickly converting the last remaining worlds of the multiverse, which starts having an affecting on all the remaining worlds as we cut back to Earth 616, as Peter has been trying to call Cindy and has only been going to voicemail. However, as he soon gets a call from his Aunt May and Uncle Ben, who want to see if he'll make it to their weekly Thursday night dinners, well, that's when Earth 616 starts shaking, and when Peter looks out the window to the sky, that's when he sees strands of the corrupted Great Web, now Shathra's Great Nest, extending down to the ground, essentially starting to encompass the whole world. In the meantime, back with the other Spideys, they begin realizing that things very much are going wrong, and they're kind of losing. As such, with everyone kind of worried what to do, Moreland is lamenting the fact that he still didn't get that totem dagger, as he still believes that if he had gotten it, he could have severed Shathra right from the get-go. To which Night Spider says, "Oh, what, you mean that mystical totem dagger that was just lying around in the middle of the temple with no one watching it?" "Yeah, she stole it." "Yeah, well, no one was looking. She essentially grabbed the dagger, and she's had it with her this whole time. And she pulls it right out, and, well, Anya is amazed that she was able to do that. Well, again, pretty much Night Spider's a thief. She's very good at what she does. And so immediately they now have a dagger in play. But ultimately ultimately, it's still a matter of even facing Shathra at all. Madam Web says that with everything that's going on, they still kind of need... They're still probably not going to win this, because after all, Peter was kind of in it. After all, some of the key players in Madam Web's plan are taken off the board, including Peter Parker, who was supposed to be their chosen one. To which, when Cindy hears that, she says, wait, you mean Peter Parker? Peter Parker's not gone. He's been calling me this whole time. Which surprises everyone a little. But yeah, Anya is able to reconfirm with Madam Web that, yeah, while Spider-Man may have been erased, Peter Parker was not. So in this new reality, he's just not Spider-Man. He's still alive, he's just a regular guy, and he just so happens to be Cindy's IT guy. As such, Cindy ends up looking through Peter's texts, and she sees that, and she learns that he has a strand of the Great Web. As such, from there, the team starts to doing a divide and conquer, as she sends Night Spider Cindy sends Night Spider and Spider UK to Oscorp so they can meet with Peter and figure out what to do with a strand of the web. In the meantime, another wrinkle gets thrown in as Hunter Spider re-arrives on the scene and lets them know that Miles was captured and he was taken somewhere in Loom World, so if he wants to rescue him, he's going to need some backup. Which also kind of goes hand in hand with the whole use the dagger on Shathra plan, as Cindy looks to the Web Weaver and says, hey, I think we could use your costume making skills. As such, From there, various plans get set in motion. Sun Spider and Spider UK go to Peter's lab as he starts working on a device to be able to actually weaponize the strand of the Web of Life and Destiny. In the case of Hunter Spider, he, Madam Web, and Night Spider, I think. Let me double check. I want to be sure I got this right. Sorry, just double checking. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, it's Hunter Spider, Night Spider, Madam Web make their way to Loom World and make their way into the dungeons below. Where Shathra is keeping Miles. And so after knocking out Mayday and Miguel, they end up making their way to the dungeon and end up freeing all the prisoners there. As such, Madam Web is at least happy to see some Spider Totems still alive and says that they're now their last line of defense. But Miles cuts her off because he says that as he was down here and talked with the Spider-Mobile, he had an idea. Because you see, the reason the Spider-Mobile wasn't converted into a Wasp Totem was because he's a car. Yes, he's technically a Spider Totem, but he's not really in a position to be converted, so to speak. So as a result, he was kind of sort of immune to Shathra's corruption, which means that if there are other Spideys like him in the multiverse, and there are, Shathra might not have been able to corrupt them either. As such, again, the teams divide. As Madam Web, Night Spider, and Hunter Spider take the remaining Spideys in the dungeon and decide to go off, but in the meantime, Madam Web ends up gives a dimensional transporter to Miles so that he and Spider-Mobile can go and gather those Spideys, which actually does a nice little callback, as while Miles and Spider-Mobile are going off, the Spider-Mobile comments that the last time they did this, Miles wasn't exactly okay with it, which is, again, kind of a nice little throwback to the original Spider-Verse thing, albeit Drake Bell Spider-Man is not here, and that's probably for the best. But either way, going back with Shathra, immediately we see what Cindy Moon's plan is, as a portal opens, and from it comes what looks like Spider-Man Noir and the Spinstress as they come in and claiming that they have captured Morlun and Aranya, that they brought them here because they thought Shathra would want to kill them herself. At which point Shathra's like, wait, I didn't call for you guys, and what's going on here? I can't see through your eyes. What's happening? Yeah, this is all a ploy. Spider-Man Noir and the Spinstress are in reality the Web Weaver and Cindy. And basically, these are the disguises the Web Weaver whipped up, and even as they're going through this, Morlan's just kind of telling Anya that he thinks this is a terrible plan and it's not going to work. However, ultimately, the plan wasn't for them to use this as a means to get close to Shathra. No, at best, it was a distraction. As while Shathra gets closer to them and asks what the hell is going on, Anya is able to use her spider magic and open another portal. And from that portal comes Peter Palmer, who comes swinging in and starts kicking ass. As such, Anya claims that this is their chosen one. It's Spider-Man from Earth 616. To which Shathra's like, no, I erased him. What the hell is going on? But ultimately, she decides, whatever, kill this guy and sends her wasp Spideys. The P's are hard to pronounce. To go and deal with the good Mr. Palmer. And for the most part, he's able to deal with them, though later in the comic things don't go exactly his way. But that's for later. In the meantime, With Shatra distracted, Morland's able to break out of his binds, and has a dagger on standby. He rushes at Shatra, claiming his victory as he rushes at her and stabs her through with the dagger, and nothing happens. Yeah. The thing is, Shatra isn't a spider totem. She's a wasp totem, and not just any wasp totem. She is an elder god, the source of all wasp totems. Just as Neth, her younger sister, was the source of all spider totems, Neth is the source of the wasp totems. She is not connected to the web of life and destiny. At best, she corrupted it. She is not a part of the web, ergo, she can't be severed from it. In other words, the whole trip, this entire distraction plan, getting the knife, stabbing Shatra, a waste of time. Just a complete and utter waste of time. And the instant Morland and the remaining Spideys realize this, all of them quickly realize they're kind of fucked, as Shatra just knocks the knife out and then just starts beating on Morland's ass. At this point, with the cover blown, Silk and Webweaver abandon their disguises and go in to duke it out with Shatra and her wasp Spideys, and basically their plan is to try and save Morland because, hey, he's still an inheritor and he's still their best bet against fighting her, but Shatra just kind of laughs at that. Why? Because it turns out the whole inheritors are a big deal thing. They're meant to be like interdimensional vampires that are set to inherit all reality. It's BS. It was something the inheritors themselves made up. And basically, what they really are, and what Shatra reveals them as, they're leech totems. And basically, they were just bottom of the barrel when it came down to the hierarchy of totems. And part of the whole reason why Solus and the rest of them even embarked on their whole hunt across the multiverse for spider totems and gain control of the Great Web, it's because they were just trying to make a bid at power. As leech totems, they could siphon out life force and energy from other totems, and well, considering that the Web of Life and Destiny was meant to be like the three-dimensional structure of the fourth-dimensional form of the multiverse, they felt that if they could gain control of that, then they could gain ultimate power. And since, the web is connected to all the various Spideys of the multiverse, they figured if they can siphon out their life forces and absorb them into themselves, then that would in turn give them more control over the web. Hence why they're a lot stronger than they usually are, because they most likely have been doing this for quite a long time. Put simply, yeah, this kind of throws mud in Morland's face, though ultimately it's not really a big deal to the Spideys, as they're still trying to help him. Unfortunately, though, their forces are not doing well. One by one, the various Spideys of Loomworld are knocked aside and knocked out, and ultimately Shatra even picks up Cindy and even kind of laughs at the fact that she's supposed to be the bride of spiders, and yet she's nothing. And that she couldn't save the lives of anybody, not even Peter Parker, which Cindy's confused by, like, how does he know what she's talking about? But it turns out that with Shatra's newfound control over time and space, she has now become truly omniscient, which means she knows what Peter's doing on Earth 616, and she's already sent wasp Spideys to deal with him, as back on Peter's lab, as he is kind of working over everything with Spider UK and Sunspider providing backup, a portal opens, and from it comes the wasp forms, I'm forgetting the P's there, of Spider Laird and what looks like a Shogun Spidey, I think. Or it's not really a Shogun. Samurai? I don't know. It looks like a I must be, I don't know. I don't know. Point is, he's got armor and he carries a sword, and they're both here to kill Peter. However, thankfully, Sunspider is able to deflect them, which I kind of love, as she says she's there to be the muscle. And while Peter at first tries to point out that she's handicapped, that's when the two wasp Spideys come in, and she says, "Hold that thought," and she just starts kicking their asses. She even uses one of her crutches as a makeshift sword. It's really cool. I dig it. But ultimately, yeah, Peter's not getting killed anytime soon, and so he continues his work. But back on Loomworld, things are not good. Back on Loomworld with Shatra, things are still not going well. As while another portal opens with Madam Web and her team of Spideys coming in to provide backup, even Shatra laughs because, again, at this point, she's practically won. The multiverse is within her grasp. She can do whatever the hell she wants. The Great Web is now the Great Nest. She's gonna win this thing. So Morland decides, fuck it. We're dead. I'm done. I have nothing left. My honor is besmirched. My plan failed. All I have left now is my hunger. And hey, if I'm gonna die here anyway, I might as well see what the bride tastes like. And sure enough, he ends up diving at Cindy and decides to just start siphoning out her life force. As such, Cindy actually freaks out and she reaches for anything to try and knock Morlun off, and she grabs the knife, which she uses while slashing at Morlun. However, rather than Morlun being erased like any other spider totem, the wound starts glowing. And as the wound continues glowing, the strands of the great nest surrounding them begin changing, healing, turning back into strands of the great web, which Shathra takes notice of and immediately tells them to knock it off, but they start realizing, hey, it's healing the web. At which point, Anya has a revelation. Shathra, the thing is, the reason they were calling Peter the Chosen One is because, well, whoever the Chosen One was is from Earth 616, and according to Madame Web's basic predictions, Peter Parker was supposed to be an essential part of stopping Shathra, so they just naturally assumed that he was the Chosen One. However, it turns out that they were misinterpreting that, as the bride of the spiders is typically their queen. And since Cindy's the bride, she's the Chosen One. At which point, Cindy, armed with a dagger and realizing that Morlun's life force seems to be restoring the web, she rushes at him and delivers kind of what looks like a fatal slash right across his chest. And remember earlier in the storyline where I mentioned that the Amalgam Spider Boy was going to get revived later in the story? Yeah, he did, and then some. As by being stabbed by by virtue of Morlun being stabbed by the dagger, every single spider totem that he feasted on, whose life force he absorbed, ends up flying right out of him and flying right back into the web of life and destiny, restoring their lives as well as restoring the web, little by little reweaving it as it spreads across the web. And since the web is connected into the entirety of the multiverse and all of creation, it starts having like a domino effect as the wave spreads out across reality. And while no one knows what the hell's going on, Shathra is freaking out because she thinks that what they've done is just essentially spell their doom, and the comic ends as the great nest is wiped away, as the great web is rewoven. So, yeah, that's this issue. My thoughts on it. Again, good stuff. This is definitely a great build up to the finale. As once again, everything as we've shown in various earlier issues, things have been kind of going to hell, and the Spideys are essentially just vying for any kind of win they can get here. So seeing them try and do like a final Hail Mary by storming Loomworld with what meager forces they have left, while rescuing other Spideys and trying to put in place any plans they could to counter Shathra, it's again very tense because, as Shathra herself stated in the story, she's practically won. The web of life and destiny has been completely converted into her great web, and any worlds that have not been subsumed in her grand design, so to speak, she is one by one bringing in because she can. She can absorb them now. She has gotten enough power that she is essentially that she is completely omniscient, and she's just decided, I'm taking it all now. That's my bid. It's my rule. This is my gift to the universe. Yes, she actually says that last one. And basically, she's just riding a high and never coming down. And regardless of what the Spideys are doing, it looks like they're not winning. Yes, they still put in efforts to try and sabotage her. We have Peter with his strand of the web of life and destiny that he's weaponizing with the assistance of Spider UK, Sun Spider, and kinda sorta Spider's Man. But then you have stuff like, But then you have Madame Web, Night Spider, and Hunter Spider as they go to rescue Miles and all the other spider totems Shathra couldn't convert. And we see Miles saying that he's got a plan, that he has an idea for a potential backup plan, because hey, if Shathra wasn't able to convert spider totems like the Spider-Mobile, maybe there are other Spideys in the multiverse she couldn't hurt. And so Miles and Spider-Mobile go off to get those Spideys. So again, there's still bits of hope, but it's like one of those essentially hope in the face of demise kind of deals, because it looks like that, they still try and do a whole as long as one of us stands, there's always hope kind of deal, but it looks like that the odds are very much stacked against them. This very much feels like the end game, and it's do or die. Either the Spideys win now and take Shathra down, or Shathra wins completely. Everything they'll have been doing throughout the story will be for nothing, and the bad guy will have complete control over time, space, and reality. So it's very much one of those like I said, it's a do or die situation. However, But however, it still gives us a little bit of hope at the end. But however, I like the twist with Cindy being the ultimate chosen one in the story here. Now, ultimately, because of her status as the bride, it was her actions that would have ultimately resulted in Shathra's demise. And what I like is that Morlun, whether he knew it or not, became a restorative factor in fixing the damage Shathra did. As because since he had all the energy and since he had the life force of so many Spideys from across the multiverse stored inside him, that combined life force was enough to restore the web. And like I said, it also restored the Spideys. By words of Dan Slott himself, basically by virtue of Morlun being stabbed like this and the life forces being returned back to the web of life and destiny, it essentially reset the Spider-Verse. And all of the Spideys that Morlun killed are now revived, which I'm very much happy for. As that means a good chunk of Spideys that we got to know in various other stories are now back from the dead and ready to keep kicking ass. It means Spider-Man 1602 is back. It means that the Amalgam Spider-Boy is back. It also means Patton Parnell is back, and quite frankly, I think he was better off dead. But you know what? We'll cross that bridge if we ever have to. My point is this. Basically, it not only restores all those Spideys who were needlessly killed in the original Spider-Verse, but it also ends up being the kicker for Shathra, as the image of the essence within Morlun's being restoring the web is a glorious sight. Let me see if I can actually find it. It's a good one. I like it. Just seeing Morlun stabbed as the various Spideys from his life force are spreading out throughout the web. Shathra screaming in terror because, in her eyes, this is the destruction of her entire reality, so to speak. And again, what I also like, though, is that while this looks like it's going to be a win, nobody knows whether it's going to be a victory or not. Anya is somewhere at least aware enough to know that all these life forces being restored to the web is reweaving it, but she has absolutely no idea if this is a good thing or a bad thing, because they have absolutely no idea if this will destroy reality or put everything back the way it was. I'm personally in the camp of it'll restore everything, not just because I've read the story, but the last time the web got blown up but good, reality was fine. You just couldn't jump between universes anymore. My point is, the web of life and destiny is very much fickle when it comes to continuity, so my camp's in the whole reality will be fine type of deal, so I don't know. My point is this. What is this? I like how things are going so far, as it still keeps the tension up and manages to still keep you thinking, is this it? Are the bad guys winning in this time? While still giving you a few grains of hope by virtue of having the Spideys still wanting to stand up and wanting to help out in any way they can, still working out plans despite the fact that they've essentially lost. It's again what I like when it comes to superhero stories: hope in the face of despair. By having the odds stacked so far much against the heroes, but they're still willing to fight, still willing to do the right thing, help others when they need to. It's again good stuff. It's good stuff, and I dig it. And ultimately, that tenacity pays off as they do find a solution that ends up shooting Shathra right in the foot, and it works. And whether it is a good thing or not, well, it's bad for Shathra, so they went through with it anyway. So again, I like it. It's good stuff. On top of that, we still got plot developments going off on other places, like I mentioned. The aforementioned Peter with the web, with his experimenting with a strand of the web of life and destiny. Miles going off with Peter Parkar to gather more Spideys. My point is, it keeps the tension a lot. It still keeps the tension going and keeps you invested, while still essentially stacking the deck and making you want to see, when giving you slivers of hope to let you know that the heroes are still fighting, despite the fact that they're probably down, that they're almost down for the count. So, and with the final page of the comic showcasing the heroes getting an unbelievable victory over Shathra by essentially beginning to undo all the work she's done, it's again very good stuff, and I dig it all the same. So, yeah, on the whole, still a really good issue, and I'm enjoying it. So, yeah, I think that's really all I have to say. I thank you for watching. I'm Samuel Johnson, and I hope to see you on Saturday as we finally conclude our look at the end of the Spider-Verse. So till then, I hope you have a good Thursday, and take care.